What's up? It's me, ADRI.V, the go-getter, and I want to welcome you to the G-Code podcast. You see, this is a place you go to get the pretty, the ugly, and the grind to success. There's always a story to be told, and everything that glitter ain't gold. So understand this. There is no need for the cheat code when you got the G-Code. So get your notebooks and pens ready. It's time for us to get into it. Welcome to the G-Code.
You are now listening to the G-Code with ADRI.V.
Hey, what's up, my go-getters? Welcome to another episode of the G-Code podcast with me, ADRI.V, the go-getter, your host, radio personality, speaker, and all-around true creator and truth seeker, all right? So listen, it is a beautiful Wednesday. I always produce and give this podcast midweek as your midweek energy shot to give you that motivation that you need. And most importantly, what I realized, my guy Zig Ziglar said that motivation is needed on a daily basis. You know, it's like washing your butt. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like combing your hair. And if you don't do it, you get funky. And I'm here to make sure you remain unfunctified. Now, any given Wednesday when I jump on the podcast, I always got a fellow go-getter with me. But today, since we are practicing social distancing, I thought it would be very important for me to be able to just be by myself and quarantine and provide you with the G-Code myself. And so, as we are now on the first day of a new month, in the new quarter, which is Q2, quarter two, I really wanted to provide you with some things after coming off of my 33rd birthday, that was March 30th, and having to deal with this COVID-19, what we like to call the coronavirus. Now, may this be my public service announcement that I say once and possibly say again at the end of the podcast. Keep your butt in the house, okay? Let me say it like my mother, get your ass in the house, okay? Stay there. We are trying to reduce the spread. We are trying to keep people safe. And honestly, you don't know whether you're coughing, you're sneezing, your nose is running or not, whether you got it. So what I need you to do is to keep yourself in the house and go out only when necessary for the essentials. And I'm talking wine, talking champagne, and food only, okay? And you're saving money by not allowing yourself to get out here in these streets to keep you from having to spend money on gas. All right. So now that I got that out the way, let me also do the other housekeeping. The G-Code podcast is brought to you by ADRI.V's Go-Getter Mix. If you didn't know, it is the extended version of dope conversation for your everyday life to be able to get to know the minds of a go-getter and why it's important to be one. Hence the G-Code, meaning G for go-getter, all right? And so today, G-Code, I really wanted to share with you a few G-Codes that I have learned and taken heed to and really decided to operate with while we are on this quarantine and while we are dealing with COVID-19. One thing I've realized is that I miss the power of touch, hug, and face-to-face conversation. I think once upon a time we took it for granted. The ability to hug someone you love, to kiss on someone you love, to be able to be face-to-face conversation with someone you care for versus having to FaceTime. I feel like I'm having FaceTime dates on a regular these days, multiple times a day, and having to make sure my hair and everything is on point because you can't get on FaceTime looking crazy. And ladies and gentlemen, I feel like it's very important that we begin to schedule your FaceTime dates with people because you can't just call because I might just be asleep because now the days and the times are all blurry. But let's get into my G-codes. How I feel one should really be utilizing this time as a go-getter. I had to preface that as a go-getter because I realized that everyone is not a go-getter and everyone doesn't want to go and get it. And I had to really swallow that hard pill like, what you mean you don't want to be productive and you don't want to be active and you don't want to get out and go get it? What do you mean? And I realized it's not in everybody's blood. And some people are really just happy with what they're doing, and that is enough for them. and everybody not as super ambitious, and everybody is not trying to go get the next level. Some people are happy at the level they are, and I've learned to love them right where they are and to no longer be a thorn in their sides. But for those who have a desire to seek more, be more, advance, and are content but never complacent and always seeking higher for self because there's always another level, shout out to my guy Gene Tino, this one is for you. Okay, so while we are on this quarantine, and if you're working from home, and if you have been laid off, and if you are currently having to not work because you are quote unquote a non-essential worker, I really wanted to tap in with you. And I want to say, let's do a G-check. And this G-check is all about us setting ourselves up to level up. I feel like first quarter for me was definitely a transitional and an adjustment time when you're transitioning from one opportunity to the next and then adjusting to what the world seems to throw at you. And during this time, you learn to pivot, you learn to duck, you learn to take body shots, and you learn to, not get so upset. I know for me, as we begin to roll into the panic mode and the news of the COVID-19 and the bad things that follow through with it and the sickness and people getting so worried and a panic happened, I really dug my heels in the ground and decided to stand 10 toes down and not allow myself to be plagued with anxiety or to allow myself to get upset and or worried, because I said COVID-19 ain't got shiggity on the past 3 years of my life, because boy have I been through it all. And so I said, if I could survive these past 3 years of my life where I feel like God, the universe, the world, the people threw everything at me, and I still got up every day and pushed through, there's nothing that COVID-19 could do to me. And sometimes you ever hear the saying that when you hit rock bottom, all you can do is go up. And I felt like that. I felt like I was at the beginning stages of life again at the top of January, and deciding that rock bottom was somewhere I decided not to no longer be. But then when trying to pull yourself up, you realize that, hey, here comes the national pandemic. And so now you got to deal with that all the while pulling yourself up. And as I've made my adjustments in the first quarter, I'm now have positioned myself to level up in quarter two. And so as we kick off this first day in this second quarter, I wanted to leave you with a few G codes. All right. And G code number 1, create a schedule. I had this conversation with my homeboy just last night. Shout out to DJ Heat, as he kept me up to 5 o'clock in the morning. And so the schedule I thought I was going to follow did not happen today, because I clearly needed to get some sleep, because I am not around for having a weak immune system anymore. But the schedule is really locking in on the things that you want to accomplish. So if you create a schedule for yourself to say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to focus on this. From this time to this time, I'm going to clean this room. From this time to this time, I'm going to veg out and watch one episode. Because this is a great time. So many people are talking about, well, I don't want to be doing anything. I don't want to do this and that and third. You can sincerely utilize this time that we all once upon a time said and wanted, that if we had more time, I could get this done. I could get this done. Well, dang it. Here's your chance to do so. So create a schedule, and within that schedule in everything that is necessary for you to operate. Schedule in some self-care time. For me, I love to get into my bath, throw the jets on, and have Epsom salt to the point where I'm falling asleep, right? And there's a time where, or even pampering yourself. Now that the hair salons and the nail salons are closed, ladies, here's your chance to do your own spa. You may not be able to wax, but you can shave. You don't want to be around here looking crazy. Go to the beauty store for a second. Get the essential things you need for a mani-pedi. Scrub those toes. You don't want to come out of the corona with yourself looking crazy. You can still practice self-care in the midst of creating your schedule and hitting the things that you absolutely want to be able to hit. So creating a schedule is key, so that you do not allow the day to pass you by, but you're passing the day with productivity. And there's a difference between productivity and being busy. And I equate this very essential saying to looking at the insects, right? There's a separation between a bee and a mosquito. When there's a mosquito around you and you see the mosquitoes, they are just busy being a nuisance. Okay, they're not productive. They're just trying to suck your blood, and they are bothering you. But when I see a bee is trying to get what they need to take back to their home to provide and protect and prepare for the next season. They're productive. So I think during this time, you need to be a bee and be productive with this time so that you can prepare for your next season, which will happen after we transition out of this COVID-19. So of course, number one is absolutely creating a schedule. Number two, dive in it. But what I mean by that is, I found myself the other day constantly making a list of things I need to do, a list of the things that I wanted to accomplish, a list of the things that I need to do, and breaking down the list of the things I need to do for the things that I made with the list. Became a full notebook. And by then, it took more time writing it all out versus taking one thing and just starting to execute. I myself have been guilty of overthinking, over-preparing, overwriting, over-preparing in a sense of trying to break it down. And I realized that was a lot of self-sabotage because then I never really got to actually producing and executing. I remember my favorite quote from E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, and he said, "Execution is rewarded." And so many times we prepare, but we don't execute. And so I want to encourage you during this time is to execute, to really identify one thing that you want to do at that given time and lock in on that. And just decide to absolutely get it done. Another G code I would like to share with is self-care. Yes, during this time, we're overloaded with information. We're overloaded with the details of the situation. And every time I pop up on social media, somebody else I know has gotten it and is getting close to home, and somebody else has passed away. And you have to unplug so that you can recharge. Unplug for a moment to not allow yourself to be inundated with the information and details of COVID-19, but to recharge your mind with positive affirmations, with positive music, motivational moments, so that you can position your mind to combat the negativity that is coming, because it is over freaking whelming. And during that time, do something that you enjoy to do. It may not be an assignment that you plan to do that week for your productivity, but you can step away to actually do something that is fun and exciting to you. Recently, as I'm new on the market and I'm talking to these gentlemen who are potentials, right? One asked me a question and he said, "What do you like to do?" Nothing related to work. What do you like to do? And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, work is life. Life is work. Like, ball is life, right? And it hit me because everything I was almost yelling out was what I do for work. And it's a blessing to be able to love what you do, but there needs to be a separation. So what I love to do is a lot of time, I like to skate, like to play flag football, I like to box, but those are things I cannot do. But then I got back to the essence of the things I enjoyed doing even as a kid and what I went to school for, which was art. And so I realized I had a whole art kit here in my office, and I decided to take out time to make sure I paint. Grabbed me an easel, got my paint, my canvas, and I'm going to create something. And so identifying the things that you love to do is key so that you can really get your mental right and you can exercise. I remember feeling so annoyed that the gyms were closed and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I said, Adriana, don't you remember? You have some dumbbells, you have some ankle weights, you have a jump rope, you have a roller, you have your yoga mat, you have so many things that you have in your house that you can actually utilize to work out. And you can still go outside, practice social distancing, and jog around your block. So yes, may I encourage you to find something you love to do, pass the time a little bit, and also work out. Last, open a book. I myself have a nice little library here in my house, and it almost got to the point where I started collecting books, and I was collecting them faster than I was reading them, and I had to put a halt, like, stop. Because I realized I don't want to buy another book if I have yet to finish the books that I've actually read and purchased to read. So pick up a really great book. A book that will help shift you in your niche, a book that will help catapult you where you're trying to go, a book that will give you a great insight, a book that will help you to really look at the cup as half full and not half empty, a book that will change your perspective on life. And may I suggest Who Moved My Cheese is definitely one of them, having to deal with change and shifting. I think that is good for this moment. The 4 Agreements, where you begin to really identify some things about yourself and knowing that you can't take it all personal. The Alchemist, which is an amazing book and a story about finding your treasures within. And I think it's a great time to really use that time to identify it. And of course, I would say another one for my people who are into marketing and my people who are trying to really build themselves up in their businesses, Contagious. That book in itself is a great read, and it is shifting my mind as I read it. And those are just a few books that I think would be great for you to help you dive on in. And for right now, those are my G codes. I just want to encourage you, which I'm sure you have seen from many different people, is to use this time wisely. This is the time that we will never get back. When the whole world is on pause, ladies and gentlemen. And now we have even the playing field. You could come out of this greater and better than what you came in, or you could come out of it the same. And as for me, I plan to walk out of coronavirus, COVID-19, way better than how I walked in, because I'm going to use this time to create. And may I encourage you to make sure you become digitally inclined and to also begin to take your stake in digital real estate. And what I mean by that is purchasing some domains. I have so many domains, I forget that I own them. And then when an idea pop in my head, I go online trying to buy it and I'm getting pissed off because it's not there. And then I remember my ex told me one time, he said, how about you just try to how about you check your own domains to see if you actually own it already? And lo and behold, I did. And so this is a great time for you to really push your digital presence, to begin to figure out how to transition your business from one form of sales to now a digital platform, especially for those brick and mortars. And here's a really great time for you to dive in on who you are. So while we are locked down, may I encourage you to lock in. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your G Code with me, ADRI.V. Now listen, don't forget to make sure you share this. I have more G codes coming in each week because luckily I built my home studio. So I'm coming to you live and direct in my pajamas, my Uggs, but my hair is done and my lipstick is on. So all I got to say is, again, this is my PSA. Stay safe. Respect the laws and the encouragement to stay in. Do not fraternize with a whole bunch of people. Have them in your house. You never know who's carrying what. No matter what they say, they are not sick or not. You just don't know. It's undetectable. And please wash your hands. It's just that simple. I love you so much for locking in with me. Subscribe to the G Code. Encourage someone to listen to it. And I'm rolling in for this particular month, my go-getter motivational minute, like affirmations that's going to take you to a whole nother level to keep you motivated, baby, because motivation is needed on a daily basis. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like washing your butt. And if you don't do it, you get funky. And I want to make sure you stay unfunctified. But I love you so much for listening. Thank you so much, as always, for stepping inside the G Code. Be sure to subscribe to the G Code podcast. Find it on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and all places a podcast lives. Also, download ADRI.V, the Go-Getter app on your Google Play and or your iTunes app store for free. And always get the G Code podcast at your fingertips. Want to catch up on the G Code podcast? Well, go to www.ADRIVthegogetter.com and also subscribe on Soundcloud and YouTube. Remember, you can check a new episode out each and every Wednesday as we get you over the hump with the G Code.
I was born in the G Code, embedded in my blood. Matter of fact, you just triggered a level orange G Code security threat.
And that's the G Code, the G Code, the G Code.